Just minutes after takeoff, an Airbus A321 carrying 186 passengers and 7 crew members faced a serious crisis. The crew received an alarming message on the ECAM indicating an issue with the oil quantity in one of the engines. As the situation escalated, the pilots had to act quickly and decisively while flying over the North Atlantic Ocean. With limited options and time running out, the tension in the cockpit increased. Will the pilots navigate this dire situation and land the aircraft safely? Or will this challenge prove too much for them? This is the story of WOW Air Flight 117. It is November the 1st, 2018, and Flight 117 is being prepared for departure. The ground crew is loading luggage and cargo into the aircraft, ensuring everything is securely stowed. This scheduled flight from Keflavik Airport in Iceland to Baltimore, Maryland, typically lasts around 6 hours and crosses the North Atlantic Ocean, passing over Greenland and Canada before reaching the United States. The aircraft for this journey is an Airbus A321, manufactured in 2017 and powered by 2 CFM engines. From October 15 to October 28, the aircraft underwent a C-check inspection at Adria Takeoff at Ljubljana Airport in Slovenia. At the time of the C-check, the Airbus had accumulated more than 7,000 flight hours and almost 1,700 flight cycles. A C-check is a comprehensive inspection that occurs approximately every 20 to 24 months, or after a certain number of flight hours or cycles. This check involves extensive inspection of many of the aircraft's components. The aircraft is taken out of service and a detailed inspection is performed on its structure, engines, landing gear, and other critical systems. This can take 1 to 2 weeks to complete, depending on the aircraft and the extent of the work needed. During this time, necessary repairs, replacements, or upgrades are carried out to ensure the aircraft meets all safety and operational standards. After the aircraft was released from the C-check, the aircraft flew 13 flight legs without any problems. Before every flight, one of the pilots performs a pre-flight inspection to ensure the aircraft is safe and ready for the journey ahead. This time, the captain conducted the check. He started with a thorough walk-around, checking the wings and control surfaces for any signs of damage or obstruction. The landing gear was inspected closely for tire condition, brake integrity, and hydraulic leaks, ensuring everything was in perfect working order. Next, he carefully examined the engines for leaks, damage, or foreign objects, ensuring that all panels were securely fastened. The captain did not notice anything abnormal during the inspection. However, unbeknownst to him, a hidden issue lurked beneath the surface, waiting to reveal itself. Inside the cockpit, the crew verified that all flight controls, instruments, and navigation systems were functioning correctly. They also checked the emergency equipment, ensuring that fire extinguishers, oxygen masks, and life vests were all in place and in good condition. Satisfied that all safety checks were complete, the captain gave the final go-ahead for boarding, confident that the aircraft was ready for a safe journey. 186 passengers then boarded the aircraft. The passengers, a mix of families, business travelers, and tourists, settled into their seats, some chatting excitedly while others gazed out the windows, unaware of what was coming. The crew consisted of 2 pilots and 5 cabin attendants. The captain was 45 years old and had 8,500 flying hours, with more than 4,000 as a captain. A 43-year-old co-pilot joined him, having more than 2,500 flying hours. For this flight, the captain acted as the pilot monitoring and the co-pilot as the pilot flying. After completing their pre-flight checks, the aircraft was pushed back from the gate. The ground crew ensured everything was in order, and once clear, the pilots started the engines. They proceeded to taxi towards the runway, carefully navigating the busy airport. As the plane moved along the taxiways, the cabin attendants performed the safety demonstrations, ensuring all passengers were aware of the safety procedures. After a short taxi, the Airbus arrived at runway 28. The weather at the airport was mostly cloudy, with periods of light to moderate rain. The temperature varied throughout the day between 4 and 7 degrees Celsius. The wind blew from the south to the southeast at speeds between 14 and 32 kilometers per hour. At 3:48 p.m. local time, the crew received clearance for takeoff. The co-pilot moved the thrust levers forward, and the engines roared as the aircraft began to move down the runway. Seconds later, Flight 117 took off and started its journey to Baltimore. Inside the cockpit, the pilots focused intently on their instruments, ensuring a smooth climb as the aircraft pierced through the clouds. With the aircraft steady and the climb at a standard rate, the flight crew carried out their after-takeoff and climb checks. Everything appeared normal, with the crew and passengers settling into their flight. But a few minutes later, as the aircraft passed through 7,000 feet, the flight crew received an advisory message on their electronic centralized aircraft monitor, or ECAM. The flight crew consulted the ECAM, which showed that engine number 2's oil quantity had dropped to just 3 quarts. Both engines had around 18.5 quarts of oil before the start of the flight. This meant that 15.5 quarts of oil were missing, which was very concerning. The oil pressure was 46 psi, and the oil temperature was 63.5 degrees Celsius. Despite the drastic drop in oil quantity, the other stats appeared normal. For ease of understanding, here are some quick reference conversions. 1 quart equals 0.946 liters. A quart is a US customary unit of volume primarily used for liquid measurements. It is commonly used in the United States to measure various liquids such as oil. Oil is crucial for lubricating the engine's moving parts. Without it, these parts would experience increased friction, leading to rapid wear and overheating. The flight crew continued the climb as they consulted the Quick Reference Handbook, or QRH. The QRH advised them to monitor the oil pressure and temperature closely, noting any sudden changes that could indicate further complications. Minutes later, after passing through 11,000 feet, the oil quantity for engine number 2 had dropped to 0. Simultaneously, on the ECAM, the oil quantity for engine number 2 was replaced by 2 X's. The flight crew initially considered whether there was a malfunction with the sensor, as the oil pressure and temperature seemed unchanged. Then, about 30 seconds later, engine number 2's oil pressure started dropping, and the flight crew concluded that they had an engine oil leak. During the C-check, technicians mistakenly followed the top-line headers of the maintenance instructions instead of the detailed steps in the Airbus Aircraft Maintenance Manual, or AMM. This error led to the premature installation of the oil filter element. This premature installation prevented proper inspection and alignment checks, essential to ensure the filter locator pin is correctly seated. Over time, engine vibrations caused the filter element to move, worsening any misalignment and potentially creating a gap. Additionally, Contrary to the AMM instructions, the black O-ring was installed on the drain plug instead of the filter cover. This incorrect placement created a gap, reducing the effectiveness of the torque applied to the drain plug. As the aircraft flew, vibrations caused the filter element to shift, exacerbating the issue. The combination of these errors ultimately led to the oil leak. The drop in oil pressure of engine number 2 led to an ECAM low press warning. The captain and co-pilot quickly analyzed the fault according to the QRH, their training kicking in as they moved with practiced precision. The manual was clear. Engine number 2 had to be shut down immediately to prevent catastrophic failure. Shutting down an engine due to an oil leak is vital to prevent severe mechanical damage, reduce fire risk, and comply with aviation safety regulations. By taking this precaution, pilots can maintain control and safety of the aircraft, ensuring they can manage the situation effectively until a safe landing can be made. Sensing the change in engine noise, passengers began to murmur anxiously. The flight attendants moved through the cabin, reassuring them that the situation was under control. The Airbus A321 is a marvel of engineering. It can fly safely even if one of its 2 engines fails. This is thanks to the aircraft's design, which ensures that the remaining engine can provide enough power to keep the plane airborne and allow the pilot to control it effectively. However, continuing the flight to Baltimore was not an option because flying for another 5.5 hours with only one working engine posed a significant risk. Operating with one engine, the captain decided to head back to the nearest suitable airport to ensure the safety of everyone on board. The decision was driven by the need to reduce the risk of further complications. Therefore, at 4:06 p.m., the captain declared a pan-pan emergency and notified ATC that they had shut down engine number 2. There was only one problem. They had just departed, so the fuel tanks were still full, making it almost impossible to land. The crew began making a plan. One option was to burn fuel by circling near the airport to reduce the aircraft's weight before landing. However, this option was dismissed as it would require the aircraft to remain airborne for an extended period, further increasing the risk of flying on a single engine. Consequently, the decision was made to perform an immediate overweight landing to ensure the safety of everyone on board. Unlike some larger wide-body jets, the Airbus A321 is not equipped with a fuel dumping system. This feature, standard in aircraft like the Boeing 747 or 777, allows pilots to release fuel mid-air to lighten the aircraft for emergency landings. This aircraft, however, has no such system. This meant the crew had to manage the situation without the option of dumping fuel. Therefore, they prepared for an overweight landing. Overweight landings present significant risks, including increased stress on the landing gear, extended landing distances, and potential failure of braking and landing systems. These risks can lead to structural damage or accidents if not managed properly. Pilots undergo extensive simulator training where they practice handling various emergencies, including overweight landings. These high-fidelity simulators replicate the aircraft's behavior under different conditions, allowing pilots to experience and manage landing dynamics with excess weight. This training is a crucial part of their overall emergency preparedness and is covered in initial and recurrent training programs. Despite the tense circumstances, the crew's professionalism shone through. They maintained clear communication with air traffic control and kept passengers informed, working diligently to bring the plane to a safe landing. As the aircraft approached Keflavik, the crew went through their emergency protocols and the captain took over as the pilot flying. the captain adjusted the approach path towards runway 19, while the first officer coordinated with air traffic control, ensuring that emergency services were on standby, ready to assist if needed. The aircraft descended steadily, and the crew followed the procedures for an overweight landing. The captain made precise adjustments to the approach speed and descent rate to compensate for the extra weight of the full fuel tanks. The increased weight required a slower and more calculated descent to avoid overstressing the airframe. The flaps were deployed to maintain optimal lift and control. As the aircraft approached the final stages of descent, the flaps were extended to their full landing position, providing maximum lift and drag. The landing gear was extended, and as they neared the runway, the captain utilized the speed brakes to increase drag and more efficiently reduce the aircraft's speed. As the runway came into sight, the tension in the cabin was noticeable. The passengers, though briefed by the crew, could sense the seriousness of the situation. Yet, the professionalism of the pilots instilled a quiet confidence. They were in capable hands. Moments later, the Airbus touched down on runway 19 with a firm yet controlled landing. The extra weight extended the landing roll, but the captain skillfully used the brakes to slow down the aircraft. The landing gear held up perfectly. Applause erupted in the cabin as the aircraft came to a stop. The sense of relief was overwhelming. The crew's calm demeanor and expert emergency handling ensured a safe arrival. Emergency services quickly inspected the aircraft, confirming it was a successful overweight landing with no immediate damage. After landing, the aircraft was parked at the terminal, and an inspection was carried out on engine number 2. The inside of the engine number 2 cowling was found to be wet with oil, and the oil drain plug on the main oil supply filter was found to be loose, along with a loose safety wire. During further inspections of the oil leak by the flight operator on the evening of November 1st, a general inspection of engine number 1 was also conducted. This inspection revealed a second oil leak inside the cowling of the engine. The same issue was found. The oil drain plug on the main oil supply filter was loose, along with a loose safety wire. The drain plugs could easily be turned by hand and did not meet the torque values stated in the Airbus aircraft maintenance manual. Following this incident, the operator inspected the drain plugs on all the engines in its Airbus fleet, which had the same drain plug. 3 aircraft were found with problems relating to this incident. Furthermore, as part of the investigation, A321 in Slovenia also inspected all the Airbus aircraft in its hangar with the same engine oil drain plug installation. 1 other loose installation was discovered. Safran Aircraft Engines took safety action by introducing a revised supply filter through a service bulletin for the CFM engines. The bulletin's purpose was to reduce the risk of incorrect assembly due to the alignment of the filter element pin. Fortunately, everything turned out well thanks to the skilled actions of the pilots, who managed the situation effectively despite the difficulties. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave a like if you found this video informative.